Using this large blank as an example, let's continue exploring the nuances of the Oneway Easy Core system. Today's blank has a diameter of 45 centimeters, which is nearly 18 inches. Initially, this was a maple log section, 45 centimeters in both length and diameter. We split it through the pith into two halves, which will eventually yield two sets of nested bowls. To start, for convenience, we'll turn a tenon that will serve as a reliable mount for all subsequent bows and simplify our workflow. Since we've opted for natural edge bows, this tenon will be located in the bark area. It's crucial to cut deep enough into the solid wood so that, on one hand, the bark doesn't interfere with the chuck's grip, and on the other, the tenon remains strong enough not to snap under pressure. The uneven bark surface can seriously obstruct the knife's free movement. It's vital that we don't push the system back toward the tailstock to compensate, as this would reduce the depth of the resulting bowl. We align the system base with the tailstock. Using a steel rule, I center it relative to the middle of the tenon. It's also a good idea to double check the alignment with the tailstock one more time. Right now, the bark on one side is hitting the cutter, which prevents us from securing the blank with the tailstock. To solve this, I need to plunge the knife slightly into the bark to clear some space. This will allow us to engage the revolving center without interfering with the system's operation. I'll make this small initial cut without tailstock support. This is risky, as such a heavy blank could fly out of the chuck, so I'm doing this at a very low speed with minimal pressure. We also need to make sure everything is cinched down tight so the bowl doesn't fly out during the process. It's worth noting that the first bowl is the most time-consuming to core. Due to the massive weight and the initial imbalance, we can't run the lathe at high speeds. At this stage, the working speed will not exceed 300 revolutions per minute. However, as we separate each bowl and reduce the mass, we will gradually increase the speed. In this particular case, I decided not to glue the bark and will remove it entirely during the final stage. As you progress deeper into the blank, don't forget about the support finger. It needs to be constantly advanced into the cut to support the blade. As the cutter approaches a perpendicular position relative to the lathe, place the emergency stop button within easy reach and slightly loosen the revolving center. We're done with the largest bowl. Now, let's switch to the next knife. If desired, you can perform the outer surface turning on the second bowl at this stage. As you've noticed, the tenon we created at the beginning will now serve as a convenient mount before processing each subsequent bowl. We secure the blank by this tenon, turn a new tenon for the next bowl, and continue the coring process. With each new bowl, the blank's weight decreases, allowing us to increase the speed. Here, I ramped it up to over 500 revolutions per minute, but that was clearly a bit too much. For this stage, a comfortable speed would be between 350 and 450 revolutions per minute. Staying within this range will help you avoid unwanted vibrations. have the original one-way sharpening kit for the Easy Core cutters, but I don't use their standard sharpening jigs. As I've shown and mentioned before, I use the Powermatic for flattening the face, and for the cutting edges, I use Stuart Betty's universal grinding platform along with the gauges included in that set. This time, using the original one-way cutter holder, we will sharpen everything on the universal grinding platform. I take a marker and highlight all the faces and edges that need sharpening. To flatten the face, I press the cutter firmly against the diamond wheel and adjust the grinding platform to match the base angle. I didn't use the setup gauges from the kit to find the angle. I believe the method described above is the most optimal. To sharpen the cutting edges, I set the platform to 80 degrees and proceed to grind the two facets. As before, I still find flattening the face on the Powermatic to be more optimal, but I've demonstrated this alternative method as well. It's just as effective. By the time we reach the third bowl, the speed will be approaching 700 revolutions per minute. The first two, the smallest knives, dull the fastest because they are used most frequently. If you keep them consistently sharp, the time spent producing each bowl will be kept to a minimum. At this stage, since the blank is significantly smaller and the knife size has decreased, using the revolving center becomes much more convenient. The RPM increases, while the time spent on each subsequent bolt decreases. Only the fourth and final knife remains. From this last core, we will yield 2 more bowls. We have reached the last and smallest knife. The remaining blank is now at its minimum size, and the processing speed has increased to 1,200 revolutions per minute. However, when using a coring system, it is crucial not to exceed the safe speed limit. It is recommended to stay within 1,000 revolutions per minute. With a sharp cutter, the process only takes a couple of minutes. The key is to remember to reduce the speed and loosen the life center at the right moment. As you may have noticed, our very first tenant stayed with us until the very last, 5th bowl. It allowed us to work quickly and efficiently. With its help, we will create the final tenon and then remove it during the hollowing process. the end, from one large piece of maple, we didn't just get one massive bowl. We got that huge bowl, plus 4 smaller ones that didn't end up in the fireplace, but came to us for free. Now, these rough-turn blanks will go off to dry for a while, and later I will turn them into 5 beautiful nested bowls, but I'll tell you all about that next time.